Oh, man, strap yourselves in. This is going to be an interesting show. This is going to be a fun show. It is. It is. Thursday episode, loaded Thursday episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. The Heat season opener tonight, they have had their thunder officially stolen. They have had their thunder stolen from the Miami Dolphins and the Houston Texans and the renewed reports of Deshaun Watson. Oh, we're going to talk about all of that. I will devote at least a little bit of time to the Miami Heat's opener tonight. That's why we're bringing on Ethan Skolnick at 3:15, the man, the myth, the legend himself. We will talk some Watson with Ethan as well, but we'll talk some Watson and we'll talk some Miami Heat. They play the Bucks tonight. I'm really looking forward to that. Ethan's going to join us at 3:15. We'll get some bets for the weekend and talk some Watson with Barry Barger, our friend from BetUS.com, who's going to join us around 3:30. And at 3:45, oh boy, friends, you see my tinfoil hat here got a little bit damaged by Antifa globalists. We're going to talk with Hussam Patel, and we're going to go through some of the smoke and some of the more reputable things being said about the Deshaun Watson situation in Miami. So we're getting to all of it, my friends. I want to remind you, we have an official sports bar here on Donno Daily, and it is the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. My friends, after a very long 18 hours or so, 24 hours or so since all this Watson stuff got renewed, and I'm watching basketball wire to wire last night, I could use a cold beer. I could use several cold beers this weekend. You head out to the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill on college football Saturdays and NFL Sundays, and if you're a fan of the Dolphins and Canes, you could use some alcohol when you're out there watching these games. They've got the 5 for $15 ice-cold buckets of the Heineken family of beers and High Noon Hard Seltzer. Mix and match those to your heart's content. The Quarterdeck has drink specials that literally never end. They've got 2-for-1 happy hour all day, every day. That food, oh, that food is so good. The fresh seafood like the oysters and Maine lobster, the fresh fish, the sushi is incredible at the Quarterdeck. If you're not a seafood fan, worry not. The sandwiches and burgers are awesome. The baby back ribs are so good. I don't order those enough, if we're being honest here. The key lime cheesecake is a great dessert. And by the way, the Quarterdeck, they have the big screen, flat screen TVs to watch every game. You can also watch every UFC pay-per-view fight at the Quarterdeck for zero cover charge. You pay nothing at the door. So if you want to find the location nearest to you, or just peep that menu before you go, check them out online at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. Oh, hello to everyone in the chat. David is very much against the idea of Deshaun Watson coming here. He will do nothing here. If he's allowed to play, I think he could do something here. That's my big question, right? Because Deshaun Watson, and yeah, like you said, David, the Dolphins are more than a quarterback away, but I think we can agree improved quarterback play, I think, is part of it. I like Tua, but I think he has some limitations. There's no question to me on the field, Deshaun Watson is better, probably better than Tua ever will be. Probably better than Tua ever will be, I should say. But the off the field stuff makes it complicated. Let's talk about what we know, what's been said over the last 24 hours, because I think this started coming out during my show yesterday, so I wasn't really ready to fully dissect everything until today. And I also, I reached out to my source to see what he had to say about everything. So on Deshaun Watson, these reports got renewed yesterday afternoon. John McClain, not the guy from Die Hard, the guy from the Houston Chronicle, John McClain from the Houston Chronicle, who is a true professional, and he's a reputable reporter. Like, this guy, he's good. This is not, a tabloid type of person. Like, John McClain is one of the best in the business. He reported yesterday, that Deshaun Watson could be dealt from Houston to Miami by the end of this week. Now, you remember on this show a few weeks back, we reported that the Dolphins and Texans, that they were heating up talks and it could be done soon. And the Texans were asking for the Dolphins, and I haven't heard otherwise since then, that what the Texans were asking from the Dolphins were 3 first-round picks, 1 second-round pick, and 2 third-round picks, that they were not asking for any players. They were asking strictly for draft assets. 3 first-round picks, 1 second-round pick, 2 third-round picks. So keep your eyes. If this does get done, keep your eyes on what the compensation will be, because that's what I was told. I did follow up with my source yesterday. Actually, to be completely honest, he followed up with me yesterday, shortly after I got off the air yesterday, and he told me that that Watson to Miami is almost done, is what he said. There are still things being ironed out. Now this is pretty interesting because you also have to remember the Tua Tagovailoa part of the equation. Now, like technically, you could say the Dolphins don't have to trade Tua right now. That they can keep him on the roster. He's on a rookie deal. I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. So the Dolphins, he said, are also trying to trade Tua to a third team, but they're having a little trouble with this right now. I don't know exactly why. Like, I'm not coming out and saying, oh, nobody wants Tua. Like, it's just, a lot of teams have quarterbacks in place. I don't know exactly why, but the Dolphins seem to be having some trouble dealing with Tua right now. Apparently, Tua and also his family are not happy with this situation with all the Watson stuff, which is totally understandable, by the way. I mean, Tua has been put in a pretty difficult, unfair spot to have to deal with all this noise. I can understand why he would be upset. And he absolutely does not want to be on this team if Watson arrives. That if Watson comes here, Tua does not want to be here. He's not interested, I would imagine, in either being Watson's backup or in being the stopgap while Watson serves his suspension, if and when he gets suspended. The Tua does not want to be the bridge to Watson or the Watson backup. He wants a new team, and it doesn't seem to me like Houston is interested in taking Tua in the deal. So the deal, if and when the deal gets done between the Dolphins and Houston, I don't think it's going to involve Tua Tagovailoa. He's not going to be part of that. It would have to be to a third team. Now, for what it's worth, because the information that I gave you is being contradicted by really good people on the Tua side of it. On the Watson side of it, not so much, but on the Tua side of it, Hussam Patel sent me a link today. Ian Rappaport, who's really good, he reported today that the Dolphins have not called any team about dealing Tua. And he might be 100% right. Again, Ian Rappaport is one of the best in the business. I was told, for what it's worth, I was told something different. And I did see this thrown out by some other folks as well. What I was told was that the Dolphins supposedly offered Tua to the Denver Broncos, and they were hoping as part of that deal. I don't know exactly what they were asking for the Broncos in return as far as the full compensation, but I was told that part of that deal, they wanted Drew Lock to come to Miami as part of that deal, but Denver have not agreed to anything. And apparently the reason why they would want Drew Lock is, assuming they're dealing Tua, they would like to have somebody like that to use in the short term in case Watson gets suspended, basically saying, as I would agree with, they no longer trust Jacoby Brissett to go out there and win games, because when he's gone out there, he hasn't won games. So a lot of stuff to break down from this, and we'll get into my opinions and your opinions on this. And Hussam Patel says, Ian Rappaport beat me to it. Ian Rappaport beats a lot of people to it. He's one of the best in the business, man. So if this deal really is as close to getting done as John McClain thinks it is, and I suspect it might be that close to getting done, you're going to ask this question. A lot of Dolphin fans will ask this question. Why would the Miami Dolphins make this deal? Now, from the perspective of ownership, and why you would ask, why did the Dolphins make this deal? With Deshaun Watson, there's baggage, right? You're not just acquiring a guy who, when he plays, if he's allowed to play, is a top 5 quarterback in the league. I wish it was that simple. If it was that simple, you would have made this trade already, right? What complicates the deal is the legal trouble and the potential criminal charges that have not been filed yet, but there are investigations going on. So why would the Dolphins want to make this deal despite all of the controversy and all the risk behind it, okay? From the perspective of ownership, Stephen Ross, owner of the Miami Dolphins, he's 81 years old, okay? He's probably frustrated that in year 3 of a rebuild, things are getting worse, not better, than they were in year 2. That's frustrating. I'm sure he sees what Justin Herbert, who the Dolphins passed on in favor of Tua, is doing right now, playing like an MVP. He's an MVP candidate in Los Angeles for another team. Stephen Ross wants to be in win-now mode, okay? From the perspective of Chris Grier, the general manager, and to a lesser extent, Brian Flores, the head coach, if they were to make this move to trade high draft picks and a lot of high draft picks for Deshaun Watson, this is a gamble, and you could view it as a Hail Mary. but it's a Hail Mary that might save their jobs, especially in the case of Grier. Yes, 3 first-round picks and another 3 assets. That's a lot to trade for a quarterback with legal problems. But maybe if I'm Chris Grier, if I put myself in his shoes, I'm thinking, okay, there's risk if I do this. But if I don't do this, I'm not going to be around long enough to use all these draft picks anyway. YOLO, right? Because, 3 first-round picks, a second-round pick, 2 third-round picks, that's a lot to give up with a quarterback who could be suspended at any second, okay? Oh, and this is the other part of the risk. Manny Chang with a great tweet, MVP tweet of the day. Watch Tua become a Hall of Famer somewhere else. This franchise doesn't deserve nice things. I am personally not expecting that, but that would be so Dolphins. Wouldn't that be the most Dolphins thing ever? Like, you bring in Watson, and then, like, he gets locked up for 20 years, which I don't think he would face anything like that. But with the Dolphins' luck, you bring in Watson, he gets imprisoned, and then Tua goes on to Denver or Washington football team and has a Hall of Fame career. That would be the most Dolphins outcome here as possible. So he's not wrong about that. From Brian Flores' standpoint, there's been a little bit of smoke with Flores' relationship with Tua. I don't know a whole lot about that. Whatever's going on behind the scenes, I don't really know. But if the tweets from Tua's trainer a couple of weeks ago are any clue, there may be some friction anyway between Flores and Tua. So Flores may not mind bringing a new face in there. And of course, we've talked about it. We'll continue to talk about it. Whether or not Watson gets traded here this week, we're going to be having these conversations until the November 2nd trade deadline if nothing happens before then. The legal trouble. It is concerning to me and to anyone from both a moral standpoint and also from a practical standpoint, right? Because some people look at it and say, you know what? There have been a lot of questionable individuals who have played this sport. I'm not really going to be concerned about the off-the-field stuff. I'm just concerned with winning. Other people, the morality of it is very important to them, right? I think if you believe in either or both of those things, there is a risk here, okay? And those risks from both of those standpoints are why I've not been in favor of making this deal, even though Deshaun Watson is a top 5 quarterback when he plays. Now, from the moral perspective of it, the things Deshaun Watson has been accused of, they look pretty disgusting if you read the accounts. And the Dolphins, and I'm already seeing this on social media from a lot of the female fans and a lot of male fans who, have daughters and certain sensibilities. The Dolphins will definitely piss off certain parts of their fan base if they bring Deshaun Watson here. And I'm sure they are aware of that, okay? They know that. From a practical standpoint, even if you take the morality out of the equation, from a practical standpoint, we can assume that Deshaun Watson is going to miss some time. I would find it hard to believe that he arrives here, the Dolphins activate him, and then the commissioner just says, go play. The world is your oyster. I don't think that's going to happen because the league has PR to consider here. Right. And you've seen the precedents of guys over the years who have been put on that commissioner's exempt list. There's definitely going to be some kind of a suspension, right? There's definitely going to be something. Will it be half a season? Will it be 4 games? Will it be more than a full season? We don't know that. I think smart money would be on the shorter end of the spectrum, but there's no way to know for sure until the legal stuff gets resolved. And then I also get it, and I can't tell you one way or the other how much it's going to come out of it. There are 10 criminal complaints. There have been no charges filed, but the complaints also have not been thrown out or dismissed. So we're still kind of in limbo here from not only the lawsuit standpoint, but from law enforcement. Like, there are still unsettled things with Deshaun Watson. Now, as was pointed out, I mentioned the report from John McClain of the Houston Chronicle. He was on the Joe Rose show this morning, and he brought up something, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago. You remember when Stephen Ross was sitting right next to Roger Goodell in the owner's box a couple of weeks back, and I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall. I don't know all the things that they talked about. You have to wonder if at some point in conversation, whether it happened that day or over the phone, you probably don't want to do it by email, seeing what happened with Bruce Allen and John Gruden. You probably want to do that where there's no paper trail to it. But you have to wonder if at some point the conversation has been broached between Stephen Ross and Roger Goodell. Just, shoot the shit a little bit. So, Mr. Goodell, what do you think you're going to do here? Like, you're probably going to do something, but if Deshaun Watson were to get activated for game day, whether it's with the Texans or some other team, maybe a team in South Florida, how long are you going to suspend him for? Are you going to suspend him at all? And John McClain pointed it out. Let's remember, Roger Goodell, he works for the owners, not vice versa. Sometimes people get that mixed up. But the commissioner, his salary is paid by the team owners. He technically works for them. So, is he going to be completely honest and forthright? I don't know, because Bob Kraft seemed pretty blinded by the Deflategate punishments a few years back. So maybe you can't always trust every word that Goodell says. But, I'm sure that Stephen Ross, he collected as much information as possible, has collected as much info as possible from law enforcement, from the lawyers of both the accusers and the defendant, that being Deshaun Watson. And I'm sure he's collected as much information as possible as he can from the commissioner's office. Now, to be fair, from the Deshaun Watson perspective of things, even if he does have to miss a chunk of time, let's not act like he's, 37, 38 years old. I mean, the guy's 26 years old. If he were to hypothetically get suspended an entire season, this is more of a long-term move than a short-term move. Like, it's not as if you're acquiring a guy in the twilight of his career and, oh my God, if they suspend him for a year, it's over. Like, he's just entering his prime right now physically. Now, I do see this a lot, and I know David and others have brought this up in the chat. Oh, and by the way, yeah, let me be very clear on this. Michael Rodriguez asked, we didn't trade for him, did we? No, at least not yet. But the reason why we're talking about it is one of the best damn reporters in the business, John McClain from the Houston Chronicle, reported yesterday a deal could get done by the end of this week. So that's why we're talking about it. Now, I see people say, like, Deshaun Watson can't help this team because there are so many other issues. You're right about there being other issues. Like, you don't bring in Deshaun Watson if he's allowed to play. You're not a Super Bowl contender. Like, you're still a ways away from that. You might still be a coach away from that and an offensive line away from that. But I think people are sleeping on his abilities just a little bit. He's got a much stronger arm and better wheels and better speed than Tua does. I think he can do more with a bad offensive line than Tua can. I have little doubt about that. But again, he would not instantly make the Dolphins a contender. He wouldn't. But I think they're going to be viewing this, if they make this move, they're going to be viewing this as a long-term move, not a short-term move. Steve St. Gerard writes in, this team is a joke. Well, and I think an important place to start, let's bring on Ethan Skolnick.
Oh,
and I do
I'm in
promise.
shadow. Hold on. Oh, there we go.
Oh, no worries. And I do promise, by the way, we are going to talk some heat with Ethan. I'm not going to completely monopolize his time on Deshaun Watson. But Ethan, here's a good place to start. Do you think the Dolphins would be reportedly this close to making this deal if you didn't have a general manager and a head coach who are very much on the hot seat? Because they might have to start thinking about self-preservation here to pull off a Hail Mary like this.
No, I don't think you would be. But again, I think that there may be different agendas between the two of them. There is an assumption always that Flores and Greer are sort of locked at the hip. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, that's been an assumption in previous regimes too. There was an assumption Sperano and Ireland were locked at the hip, and we found out later, especially that last year after Jeff got on the plane with Steve Ross to go get a different head coach and Harbaugh, that they were not locked at the hip. The same thing happened with Spielman and Wannstedt. If you go back to the A.J. Feely trade, which Rick Spielman made after A.J. went 4-1 for Philadelphia, which anybody could go 4-1 for Andy Reid. Rick went out and made the trade, but Dave had no intention of playing A.J. Feely ahead of Jay Fiedler, and neither did the players and the defensive players on the team. Zach and Jason, Sam and Pat all went to Dave and said, stick with Jay, stick with Fiedler. They were not on the same page, even though Dave hired Rick, okay? And then we remember that they flipped roles, and Rick ended up in charge over Dave when Dave had finals. I mean, this has been 20 years of this crap, okay, of like sort of, owners picking one over the other, keeping one over the other, not being aligned. I'm sorry, I'm at the arena. I'm at a place where they win. Hold on. There you go. You can see it in the background. That's a
beautiful.
Place.
What a background.
That's a place where teams win. and they better win tonight because Milwaukee is basically sending its G League team. But here's the thing. I don't know that they're necessarily aligned. I mean, our information throughout the network continues to be that this is more Flores than Greer in this case. And, that the Greer part of it is more about self-preservation because he's being pushed to do this. And so we'll see. I mean, I don't know that Chris Greer survives anyway. I tend to think that the most likely scenario is that they hired Marvin Allen when he could have been a general manager somewhere else. And I just have a feeling either Marvin Allen or Reggie McKenzie is going to be given the keys to this thing. And basically that's going to be sort of another of these compromises that Steve Ross does with maybe Flores getting one more year to try to get it right. I feel, again, I don't think there's total alignment on this. I do think the part of the story that we may have not gotten completely right, and I think we were led here a little bit by some of the reporting by Pro Football Talk, is that Ross is pushing for this the most. I don't get the sense now that that's really the case. I think he'll do what it is that his people tell him to do this time around, and it seems to be Brian Flores. And look, the Brian Flores thing is not hard to figure out if you just study what's gone on the past 2 years. He has never seemed like he's believed in Tua. I just think, right? I mean, they didn't build the roster to him. The first year, they catered with an offensive coordinator to 38-year-old Ryan Fitzpatrick. Okay, they yanked Tua for Fitzpatrick. He yanked him on numerous occasions. He had an opportunity twice this year, early before the season, to say they were not in on Deshaun Watson. He would not say it, whereas he typically would say,
and let me add in, a report came out a few weeks ago saying that Flores actually preferred Herbert over Tua.
Right. Well, that stuff is starting to leak. You see, this is what happens with bad teams. Do you have, which is basically the Dolphins for 20 years, do you ever hear this stuff happen with the Heat? Like since the Dwayne Wade selection, which it's pretty well known that Pat was kind of talked out of Chris Kaman by Randy Fund, and that got out, right? And we never heard from Randy Fund again. I mean, he's a Facebook friend of mine, but I think he's actually in witness protection. This stuff doesn't get out with the Heat. When they have internal disagreements, they tend to settle it. They don't run to the press. The sense that I get is that some of this stuff is starting to leak now because people are trying to cover their hides for what has happened with this organization. And so it's going to be, well, I wanted this guy. I didn't want this guy. I wanted this guy. I don't know who Brian Flores' particular friends in the media are. I've never really had I've had some chance, but not a lot to interact with him, in part because of COVID, which has kept us away from people. But the Dolphins also are very restrictive as compared to the Heat when it comes to access and haven't really, over the past 3 years, treated us maybe as the full media partner that the Heat have. And so it's hard to really kind of get a complete sense of it or of him. But I will say that I was a Flores fan, and I'm still to a degree a Flores fan. I just think that he's made a number of missteps. And the thing that's really I think he's made big missteps with the way he's handled Tua. I think that's the number one thing. But I think the other thing is, really, for his first 2 years, he was pretty damn good as a game coach. We didn't really have a lot of questions. This has been a bad year.
And I thought you, by the way, and you brought up the best point, that he was a better game day coach when he had less to lose, right?
Yes.
When he had less pressure to win and could gamble a little bit more, he made a lot better decisions on calls than he's making this year.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think the pressure of it may have gotten to him a little bit. I also think there are likely some things going on behind the scenes that we don't know about right now that we may find out later. We also don't know what's going on in guys' personal lives. There's all kinds of stuff that affects it. But Flores, to me, one of the things I really liked about him the first 2 years was that bent towards aggressiveness when he needed, and that has not been there this year. And it has come across in very many ways is that he doesn't trust either of the quarterbacks on the roster. Well, I mean, they drafted two on his watch, right? And they brought in Brissett this year. So, I mean, would he be coaching differently if Ryan – and again, I know Fitzpatrick's hurt, but, I mean, again, you never know. Would he be coaching differently if Ryan Fitzpatrick was here? I tend to think he would be. And so I think that's the frustration that Dolphin fans are going to feel if this thing blows up with Tua is I don't really think that Tua's been given the tools to make something happen. And some of it is injury. But, again, Jesse Davis nearly got him killed. I mean, and that was it. That's a –
Oh, wait, we lost Ethan's audio.
I'm back. I'm sorry.
Oh, he's back. I was going to say, I thought maybe the globalists were cutting the feed here because we're getting a little too close to home.
No. Yeah, I might be. I love the hat. There you go. But yeah, I just think that at this point, I, the I don't want to use this because I don't want to call anybody a rat, but the rats are jumping ship right now. I feel like some of this stuff is starting to leak. People are trying to preserve their jobs, and it just comes back to this. I mean, this happens pretty much every organization in this town. I think again the Panthers are starting to get things right finally, but every organization, major sports organization in this town, except the one that plays there, everywhere else is just a bleep show. And again, I think the Panthers have finally, and we need to keep giving them more and more attention because it's deserving. They've kind of finally figured out a formula that works. They have a guy who's competent. They're giving him the tools to succeed. They've managed to convince their best players to stay, which is ultimately the most important thing for a franchise, and they seem to be getting it right. But the Panthers for years did this. The coach and the GM floating different things out to the media, sidling up to kind of tell them, I didn't want this guy, or this guy wanted this guy, don't blame me. And it's happening with the Dolphins again, and the reality is it's probably going to happen for the rest of our lifetimes. I can't really see a scenario where they ever get things right.
I'm so bullish on the Miami Heat. I did the first part of my show yesterday making my case for the Heat, not just getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, but getting back to the NBA Finals. Now they're going up against the champs tonight. Yeah. It's not the full version of the champs, but I mean, give me your biggest takeaways from preseason, which was an unbelievable preseason for Miami, and Kyle Lowry fitting like a glove, Tyler Hero basically scoring a point per minute in preseason. What are you expecting for the season debut, which is also the home debut tonight?
Well, I mean, for the season debut, it's hard to gauge it because it's basically, Giannis and, what. I mean, Middleton's going to play too, but they don't have Brook, they don't have Portis, they don't have Holiday. So, I mean, you're talking about, 3 of their top 8 are not going to play, including 1 of their top 3. So it's a game that you need to win. I mean, you have to look at it like that. And we know that the Heat have struggled. Last year, they really struggled against teams that didn't have their best players. That was a big theme of it. As far as the preseason goes, I think the most encouraging thing to me was just how crisp the offense looked. Without getting into specific players, and again, Lowry and Hero kind of stood out, but it looked like they've been playing together forever, even the guys who haven't been. And so we have seen some Heat teams, and look, offense is the much bigger concern with this team than defense. We've seen some Heat teams, even when they're supposed to really start slow offensively. Even the big 3 teams, he drilled defense the whole preseason. He said he regretted it afterwards. They kind of came out. They couldn't really score very well for the first couple of months when they started 9-8. This team looks much crisper offensively than I anticipated. Defensively, I don't think there's any way they can't be good. We've had so many people on the 5 on the Floor podcast, including national people, and it's like, do you see any way that they struggle defensively and nobody sees it? I can't. They're never going to have a scenario this year where they have 3 bad defensive players on the floor at a time. That happened a lot the past couple of seasons. Again, no disrespect to Dragic and others, but I mean, the difference from going from Dragic to Lowry defensively, the significance of it, even though I love Goran, is that, you with Goran, you were pushing towards having a bad defensive team out there when he played, and with Lowry, you're not. And I just think they needed more two-way players. They've added one. I have some questions about the depth. We had Gabe Vincent on our podcast today. We had Max Strus 2 weeks ago, and Gabe was terrific. He's a lot of fun. You should listen to that. As was Max. They were both really game for it.
Yeah, I heard Max. That was incredible. I love that.
And the Gabe stuff is great. He makes fun of my age the whole time. But basically, how did I become the old guy? By the way, I was a Dolphins beat writer at 22. But basically, and they haven't won a playoff game since, actually. So. They won 1. So they won 1, I guess, with Lamar Smith. That's it. But basically, I have some questions. I think Strus and Vincent in particular have to prove it. We saw some promising signs. Vincent's assist-to-turnover ratio in the preseason was very solid. Shot the ball a little bit better than he has. And Strus, I think, has looked great all the way since Summer League. If they get, passable performances from them off the bench, they should be fine until Oladipo comes back. So what do I see? 3 or 4 seed in the Eastern Conference, and a team that probably nobody's going to want to play in the playoffs.
I love it. And before I let you run, and enjoy the Heat game tonight, by the way, but before I let you run, I'm glad that I let you say a lot of nice things about the Florida Panthers, because my viewers have barred me from complimenting the Panthers because they know what a mush I am. Like they're afraid.
Well, no, I am too. I'm not even supposed to be in the building tonight. And that's they don't typically let me in because I'm supposedly the jinx. And I try to remind people that I was present for all 3 championship clinching games, so I couldn't be that. And me going to Dolphin games and them sucking, like blame someone else for that. Okay,
Yeah,
that's not my fault.
See, like Brooklyn Rob just tells me, don't even say Panthers. Well, Ethan, I appreciate you, and I love how you trolled me a little bit with the dueling BetUS code.
Yes. I'm just making sure people understand that that's the one they have to use. That's all.
I appreciate you, man. Enjoy the Heat game tonight. And by the way, everyone, make sure you're following Ethan and following the 5 Reasons Sports Twitter account because we're going to have you covered. Everything that happens in FTX Arena tonight. This is your one-stop shop, 5reasonsports.com. Thank you, Ethan.
Did you mention, too, that your sponsor, Quarterdeck, is going to be a host of a watch party November 8th?
Yes, November 8th.
November 8th. Heat at Denver. There's also a Monday night game.
Which location? Which location do we decide on?
I think we have settled on Plantation/Sunrise.
I love
it. I think that's where we'll start, and then we'll go to my neighborhood in 17th Street in Lauderdale for the next one.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, I love the Plantation one. It's like gigantic. And then I love the Fort Lauderdale one as well because they've got the incredible patio. Like you can't go wrong either way.
Yeah, no, we'll be in good shape either way. I really wanted to do 17th because I can walk to it, but whatever. It's not just about me. It's fine.
No, that's awesome, and I'm glad we could organize that. So everyone, make sure you join us November 8th for Heat, Nuggets, and Monday Night Football that night at the Quarterdeck Plantation. Ethan, thank you so much, man. Enjoy the Heat game tonight.
Thanks, Alex.
I love it. Oh, man, it is so good. My friends, we bring on a show favorite. Joins us now, the man, the myth, the legend, Barry Barger from BetUS.com. I want to remind you guys, BetUS is the official sports book of Donno Daily and the 5 Reasons Sports Network. They are America's favorite sports book. The customer service is second to none. They've got odds on every sporting event you can possibly imagine. That's why I discovered BetUS a while back was I couldn't get college lacrosse odds at another book. I got them at BetUS. I realized these guys have everything. The service is great, and you want to use our code when you sign up and when you make your deposit. If you use our code 5RSN125, they're going to give you a 125% sign-up bonus. So if you deposit $100 with your credit card, they're going to give you $125 of free play money on top of that $100. If you sign up with crypto and use our code 5RSN200, they're going to give you 200% on top of the $100 that you deposited. It is so good, my friends, whether you're betting sports, pop culture, horses, or you're using the online casino. I play some online blackjack in there sometimes, and I have an absolute blast. You're going to find something for you. You play, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. And Barry Barger joins us now. Barry, I missed you last week, man. I'm glad you gave me a hot tip on Thursday Night Football last week while I was chasing my kid around Disney World. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. I'm glad I got that to you. You know, I was like, oh
yeah.
And that's great. How was your week? Whatever.
Exhausting because here's the thing. When you try to take a trip and then you get on that trip and my wife got really sick, and it's not like COVID or anything. She actually did go to urgent care. You know, she had this whole issue. And then we also traveled with my mom and dad because my kid loves to be around his grandparents. And my mom got really sick, and she even had a spell at the emergency room, same trip. And I'm feeling great. I got to tell you, Barry, the secrets. And one of my viewers actually gave me this tip years ago. I never get sick, bro.
I don't either. It's water. I'm a hydrating machine. I'm constantly drinking water. I've got a middle brother, and he's always sick and never drinks water.
Oh.
I haven't been sick in 30 years with a flu or any illness, and I am always hydrated. I tend to dehydrate a little bit too, so I got to make up for the little woo.
See, I feel like that's my cure, though. A few extra beers and I'm good to go.
You know what? But just combine them. Beer, water, beer, vodka.
Yeah, exactly. No, and water is huge. I drink a ton of it. In fact, hold on, let me take a sip here. Water essential. Also, dude, I get a ton of sleep. Like people glorify the grind. It's like, oh, like you're not really living unless you only sleep 3 hours a night, dude. Right. I sleep 8 hours a night, man. I never get sick. I eat tomatoes. One of my viewers, Rafa in Miami years ago, gave me the tip to eat tomatoes. So between the water, getting a lot of sleep, tomatoes, my immune system is that of a thoroughbred, sir.
Same here. And you know what another key is? It's the same as the first Spanish words I ever learned was sin cebolla. No onions. Without onions.
See, I like onions.
No, I can't do it. It's an instant. My whole family.
Like a heartburn. I could see that. I could see that. Oh, see, here it is. I'm the mush and Barry is the anti-mush. Let's make some money. Let's make some money on BetUS. No, well, and let's start. Let's start, Barry. NBA season is upon us. We've already had a ton of games. Last night there were like 50 games. Monday night there were a couple. Tuesday night there were a couple of games. My Miami Heat finally make their season debut tonight. Milwaukee going to be depleted this evening on the road at Miami. The Heat are, the last I checked, about a 1.5 favorite and either minus 125 or minus 130 on the money line. I can see it toggling a little bit. Who do you like tonight? Right. Do the Heat win their season debut, or do the defending champs come to town and spoil the party?
Boy, that's a tough season debut to take on, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Real quick, though, for everybody, we have all kinds of Twitter things, but BetUS_NBA is where we do all the different, NBA picks, NBA specials, stuff like that. For NFL, it's BetUS Pro FB. And then we got BetUS_official. I just, so it's catered to everything. BetUS_official is the big one. It handles everything. But as far as this game goes, so look, I mean, Jimmy Butler, and you got Adebayo. Is that how you say his name? Bam?
Yep, Bam Adebayo. Yeah. You just call him Bam, and no one will question you.
That's way easier. But also they got, they're psyched because they got Lowry. So this could be, this is going to be a real good game. It's so tough on, so who's depleted on the Bucks? Who are they without? They're without Giannis.
Yeah, I think it's basically Giannis, Middleton are playing, and then a bunch of stiffs outside of that. No Lopez tonight. I think they're missing some other pieces this evening.
No Lopez. Okay. What about his Holiday playing? Okay, so look at the Bucks. They look so strong. They beat the Nets. 127. I mean, so Antetokounmpo Coco, he had like almost a triple double, and I mean the guy is get your bets on MVP on him already.
Yeah,
I mean, and so this game's tough for me to go against them. They're already got a game under their belt, but it's going to be a tight game. What's the total on this game? Because that's
let me pull that up.
Yeah, I apologize. I should have had this here. I got it right. Because I would be looking to bet over 223.5.
Oh, I like that.
2.5. Because I think I think they're going to come out like in really great form, just like the Bucks did, and not having a game already. There's that little bit of, is this first game going to be a little off? They got a new stud in there that they've worked in. How's it going to work in, real game situations with Lowry? And but I'm telling you what, this game is so tight. 2.5. 2.5. It just seems like I'd rather take the total going over, truthfully.
I like that.
Because if I'm going the side, it's hard for me not to take plus 2.5 in the Bucks. Even with a couple guys out, if they've got Giannis they've got so much strength in there.
I agree with you on 2.5 to be, and I'm gonna bet that over.
It's just a little high. I would go one. I could go with the Heat because. But 2.5.
Yeah, and that's what I did, Barry. So and I think that I'm not sure what the money line is at this very moment. Maybe you have it, but earlier when people
plus 115 on the Bucks, minus 135.
Oh, see, I got the Heat. I got the Heat at minus 125. I bet them on the money line, so I got that at a good time. Yeah,
it went up. So there's a lot of money coming in on the Heat, which shows maybe the guys out really is a big difference because. That's gone up. That's a big, when it goes from 1 to 2 or 1.5 to 2.5, that's big moves. And to go from minus 120 to minus 135, that means there's been a lot came down on the Heat. So there's some wise money going in on that one that you can bet on it. So that's, wow. I would stick with the over because or bet the money line. I think that you're smart there because
Yeah.
Miami's, at home, season open, that's going to be, the fans are going to be pumping. And if the Bucks are depleted a little bit, that could be just enough for the Heat to pull this out. I think it's going to be so close, though.
I think so too.
Like a
1 point Heat win would be perfect. Yeah.
Oh, right. No, that's there you go. You really get it that way. Oh man, yeah, that's great. So and we've got all kinds of new NBA stuff. As a matter of fact, I'm meeting with a guy about our new promos coming up, which I'll talk about next week for the NBA, for promos for your players and new stuff we got coming up. Every sport, crank it up, baby.
I love it. We got Thursday night football tonight, and you helped me. Even though I didn't have a show last Thursday, I reached out to good old Barry, and he helped me win a bet on the Eagles against the spread last week. So tonight, no Baker Mayfield. The Browns, though, they are still favored against the Broncos. It's Browns -1.
Minus 120 last I looked. So
yeah.
I tell you what, with this one, Teddy Bridgewater is nothing close to 100%. He had like 17 quarterback hits and 5 sacks last week, and he's bruised up. For Keenum, it's a revenge game.
Yeah.
I don't know if people know. So it's a revenge game for him. Plus, he had a really great season in like 2017, and Stefanski was his. So Keenum, he knows this offense. Keenum's going to step in there, and I don't think you're getting anything worse than Mayfield. Mayfield has not played great. So I know this went down when Case Keenum was announced as starter. It was 3, I think, or 2.5. But I am happy with Keenum. Laying 1, and what I like even more than that is 40.5 going over.
Yeah.
Against the Denver D, the last 3 weeks, it's been over 900 yards. He had Big Ben, Carr, and Lamar, and 5-0 touchdown to interception ratio. So I really think 40.5 is just way too low, I think. I think this goes, this is like a 49-point game, 50-point game. So the total going over, that looks like the big bet to me. And I would have Cleveland's got so many injuries, man. This Dearness Johnson, this running back, if he's available on your waiver wire, you need a running back in fantasy, I would pick him up.
I think I do need a running back. Actually, my fantasy teams suck, man. I need help.
I just picked up Devontae Booker. Figured, Barkley's out another week because I needed one. You got 6 huge teams on bye this week. So I think the over there because, with the Browns, it's really tough. I want to bet them because I don't think Keenum's going to be a problem. Yeah. He's been a journeyman and been, he's had some great games, but there's so many injuries that there's a little bit of doubt there. With the 40.5, I think both teams are going to score. I really do, Alex. I think that's the play here. Did you already play it or?
No, I haven't. So I'm going to play it. And you know me, I love betting overs because and it's not to say that I won't bet unders if I feel like it's a great line, but It's frustrating to root for teams not to score. I'd much rather be like score.
Gosh. Hey, speaking on last week, we got a little lucky because the time ran out. So, with Tampa running out the clock inside the 5, I think
better to be lucky than good.
That's what I say.
But I've been on the other end of it many times where I've lost a bet because of bad luck. Now I got a couple things for you on the Miami Dolphins before we get to their game. They're hosting the Atlanta Falcons. Before we get to that, there's a lot of noise now. Renewed reports about a possible Deshaun Watson to Miami trade. John McClain from the Houston Chronicle even said it could happen this week. The trade deadline is November 2nd. So if it does happen,
days, I think.
If it does happen, you got less than 2 weeks to do it. Do you think this is going to happen? Do you think it should happen from Miami's perspective?
Well, so Tua looked good. So he put up he had 350 some yards in total offense. They lost Jacksonville in that game, but he showed that he's a lot better than Brissett. And I don't think he's bad. And I think he's still developing.
Yeah.
But if you've got a chance to get Deshaun Watson, he's one of the premier stud quarterbacks.
Top 5.
I actually, a half hour ago, I was reading up on it a little. I went and picked Deshaun up in my fantasy football league, one of my leagues. It wasn't available in the other one, but I was like, if he gets to Miami or anywhere, if he actually gets traded, then he's an instant top 5 fantasy football quarterback, and he instantly upgrades that offense and that team. I mean, the guy, I don't know if people forget, it hasn't been that long. He's one of the studs. He's that guy runs and throws, and I mean, he's really that good, and he will make that big a difference. If I was Miami, I would do it because he is one of those elite quarterbacks. And so if he comes in there and helps Tua develop for the next 2 or 3 years, and then Tua comes in, great. If he comes in and brings the Dolphins a championship, then it's like, who cares about anything else? I mean, come on. But what do you think? I mean, do you like what do they think out there? Do they like the chance? I mean, do you want Tua to be fluffed out?
The thing is, like, there's so many issues. Part of it is that there are a lot of people who are, they're part of the cult of Tua, and they they think the kid can do no, and he's a great guy. Like, I feel bad for Tua because this is a really tough situation he's in.
Yeah.
Even if the trade doesn't happen, it's still, he's been in a tough situation with all this going on. But so some people just don't want to give up on Tua. A lot of people are just.
You're not giving up on him. I mean, you're not giving up on him.
Yeah.
So that's that's just being smart for your team.
Well,
really.
Right, but then other factors are with all the legal trouble, the pending legal issues, and wondering, is he going to get suspended? Is he going to get charged with anything? Talking about Deshaun Watson, that there certainly are people who fear the worst case scenario. What if we bring this guy in? He can't play for a couple of years. There's some of that, and then there are definitely a lot of people, Barry, who just say, you know what? I just want to win. Bring me the best possible quarterback, and that's Deshaun Watson. So there are many, many different perspectives, and people. I think the one thing I can tell you is every Dolphin fan has a strong opinion on it, right? No matter what that opinion is, whether they love Tua, whether they hate Deshaun, whether they love Tua, they hate Watson, or they just want to win. People have strong opinions on it.
And I'll tell you what, and I'm working with a new guy here, and we're going to be putting up a lot more of the entertainment props and
nice.
Different kind of funky stuff, all that good stuff. I was just trying to check real quick here if we have the Deshaun watch up, because where's he going to be this year? And I don't see it up right now, but it'll be up later today. I'm sure they probably just putting it up. Maybe they're putting it up after the game tonight.
Okay.
But we put out like those kind of lines out on all that stuff. Who's the first coach to be fired? The next coach to be fired. All this stuff. And here's something. Okay, here's a nugget for everybody out there.
Okay. Patrick
Mahomes. Okay, he's 12-1 for MVP. Just because they've lost some games, he's got 18 touchdown passes. I mean, he's at the tops in a lot of stats.
Yeah. And
if he all of a sudden he wins out, which is a great possibility with the Chiefs. So if he wins out at BetUS, you can get 12-1 on him being MVP right now. And I mean, I would say everybody jump on it. They're going to take a whole bunch of beating up on this one. It's going to be my fault, but you're welcome, listeners. That's all courtesy of Alex.
Oh, and last thing, Dolphins, they are underdogs. I think 1.5 at home against the Falcons. And listen, even though the Falcons aren't good, the Dolphins should be dogs after losing to Jacksonville last week. Like, I can't argue with it. Do you see any value there on that or the
problem.
total?
So Atlanta, they took their bye week after London.
Mm-hmm.
Miami played in London last week, and they didn't take a bye week. There's something there. So that's what worries me about the Dolphins with this game. So I wouldn't play the Dolphins, I don't think, because of that, even though Tua, so even without, go back to Tua real quick, without Fuller or Devontae Parker, he had that much offense. So he is really stepping up. And for the Tua lovers, he's showing signs of whether Deshaun comes or not. Tua is on the up. And so don't lose hope in him. He's still a young cat, man. He's still learning the NFL. So, don't say, and as far as so what's the total on that? That's, I think that as far as the game goes, it's -1, -2.5. Falcons -2.5.
47
and a half.
Yeah.
And so the Dolphins D is hurt, and they've been getting kind of blazed up. And Matt Ryan has actually been like 70+% over the last like 3 games, I think it is. And I think they're both going to put up points. This is another over I like. And I like the Falcons mainly because of the rest thing. And this is another like total I like a little more than a side because Miami's at home. They're going to put up points. I've got more confidence in a lot of points being scored here. Tua's going to put it up on Atlanta. Atlanta's D is not good. Okay. Miami without their secondary is a little bit, on the mend.
Yeah.
So I believe that this is going to be a lot higher scoring than the pros think it is. But I'm one of the pros. So, here at BetUS, we try to think that I'm the pro of the pro team, whatever,
and honestly, this is one of the most fun segments ever because basically every game we've talked about over. So I'm like a kid in a candy store.
We're such squares. We're square bettors. We're taking
and the funny thing about it is, like basketball, football, I love high scoring games. I'm also a huge soccer fan, and I don't mind watching a 1-0. Like I don't mind watching a low scoring game in soccer, but there's something about American sports. I want points, baby.
Absolutely. Speaking of soccer and everything, our Twitter handle is at BetUSTV. We've got, I think, at least 9 different shows going now. One of them soccer that's been huge. So we got these experts picking all this stuff. And this is free. Every day we're doing live shows, and you can go there and watch the content that was done yesterday or earlier today. Check out at BetUS TV for all that stuff, for sure. And at BetUS Pro FB for all the NFL stuff. It's loaded with information, just like the locker room there. I'm telling you, it's one-stop shop. One-stop shop. You said it earlier out here when you're talking about you guys, I think, before I came on.
Yeah,
same
you guys
thing.
as well. Yeah, I love it. Barry, thank you so much, man. And enjoy Thursday night tonight. Enjoy all the basketball, everything coming up, man. I'll be in touch. Thank you.
Alex, you're the man. Oh, one more thing. Bet the Chiefs.
Oh, I love it.
They're going to roll. They're going to roll. We didn't go into that one, but yeah, get on it.
Chiefs
and stay on it.
Boom. A bonus pick. Thank you so much, Barry.
You got it. It's always a pleasure, Alex.
Barry Barger. I love it, man. I love talking to this dude. Let's talk to another dude I love talking to. And boy, I just based on some of the DMs that I had with Hussam Patel here from 5 Reasons Sports, I know he's got a lot to say. Like, I know you're passionate. I mean, Hussam, you have been all over the World Wide Web today, absorbing all sorts of Deshaun Watson content. You've heard 100 different perspectives being told, the people who say it's going to happen, the people who say it's not going to happen, and this and that. So, sir, is there a consensus, Hussam? Do you feel confident one way or another that something could get done, if not this week? And this week is time's running out, by the way. If not this week, then sometime before November 2nd. Oh, I think you're muted, sir. No volume. No volume, Hussam. No volume. I can't hear you. What is going on over there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you. See, I thought, you know what happened? Antifa. It's the globalists.
They want to mute me. But what I was saying is that what I'm confident in, Heat in 5. That's what I'm confident. And look, we've been exchanging messages all along. Your sources are telling you one thing. My sources are telling the same thing your source told me.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say they're telling me the opposite. No, okay, so that's interesting.
And we've spoke about it before too. Look, the Miami Dolphins, they're definitely interested in Deshaun Watson. We've known that since the last 7-8 months. It's the fact that Miami's just interested about the compensation which is needed for Deshaun Watson. And from what I've been told is that Tua is not on the table. So the reports about Tua being traded to Denver is murky. Mm-hmm. Him being offered to the Washington football team is a little bit murky. And then the Washington football team and Denver came out and said that they had no contact with Miami Dolphins in regards to any compensation for Tua Tagovailoa. So Tua Tagovailoa is off the table. And I know Ian Rappaport stole a little bit of my mojo, and I wanted to say it here on the Donno show. So Pat McAfee show, Alex Donno show, and I prefer the Donno show.
My man.
I prefer the Donno show. And look, Ian Rappaport even came out and said it. Look, Tua Tagovailoa is not on the table. He hasn't really heard anything solid, anything concrete regarding this entire trade drama regarding Deshaun Watson and the Miami Dolphins. When Ian Rappaport says that, you listen. And MB Beggs says it right there. All of that trade heat came out from John McClain in the Houston Bee. And look, I know John, great reporter, veteran in the industry, but he has written a couple articles before just dogging on Deshaun Watson. He has literally said that he would like to see Deshaun Watson tear another ACL.
Oh my God. Ooh, I didn't. Wow, I don't remember that.
And John McClain is the Texans media guys. You know, every team has their own.
Now he did, though. To be fair,
guy.
he did save most of the hostages from the Nakatomi Plaza when Hans Gruber was trying to blow them to smithereens. So he's not all bad, John McClain.
He's not all bad. Exactly. It's a good day to die hard. It's a good day to die hard. But look, man, and even if the Dolphins do somehow get Deshaun Watson, Tua Tagovailoa is going to be playing on that field. And either A, it's a motivation booster for Tua Tagovailoa. B, Watson is not going to see the field until 2022, late 2022, late 2023. You seriously do not know what's going to happen with those legal cases. And another thing, the Eagles were reportedly involved with Deshaun Watson early on in the draft, and Jeffrey Lurie sent security personnel to find out what's going on with Deshaun Watson, his legal cases, his issues, things like that. You know, getting background information on a player. Employers do this all the time. The government does it all the time. Everybody does it all the time. And once security personnel were sent there, Deshaun Watson's interest in the Philadelphia Eagles just went out like Thanos, snapping half the world's population. He wasn't interested. And the Eagles went back. They got whatever they knew, and they were out of the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. So it's literally just Houston drumming up this trade talk. And mind you, let's not forget this last week, Deshaun Watson came to the facility and demanded a trade to be happen before the trade deadline.
That's right.
It's all coming from Houston. Nothing from Miami has happened. Now, if you want to talk about the Miami perspective of it in regard to Chris Grier and Brian Flores, it seemed, the narrative seems that it's desperate. The Miami Dolphins are feeding for desperation. And this is only year 2 of the rebuild. Last year was the first year of the rebuild. And
so you don't consider 19 to be the first year? Was that, you consider that like the demolition year?
I consider 2019 to be the strip down year for everything.
Fair enough.
Take everything out. No expectations, whatever. And you said it earlier on in the show. With no expectations, Brian Flores and this team, they were aggressive. They've dialed back a lot of that aggression and have played conservative the last couple games with Jacoby Brissett and Tua Tagovailoa. He needs to revert back to that aggression on offense and particularly on defense. Now, defensive issues, they need to fix whatever is going on in the cornerback room and those third down conversions and personnel mismanagement. On the offensive side, we know why the offense is failing. It is because of OL play, which factors into offensive line development. You've had the last 3 years Brian Flores has been here. You have had 3 different coordinators, 3 different offensive line coaches, 2 different wide receiver coaches, 2 different quarterbacks coaches, 2 different tight end coaches as well. Nothing stays consistent. You try to stack consistency on top of each other. And if you don't do that, it's to the point where everything is unstable. And you're seeing that instability right now with the Miami Dolphins and this organization. We know Brian Flores likes to have continuity. He said it in a couple of press conferences before. but that continuity has been with the players, not with the coaches. You need continuity with coaching too. And I tweeted this out too. Robert Hunt, who you could make an arguable case that he's the Dolphins' best offensive lineman, the best offensive lineman draft pick the last 3 years. He's had a sophomore slump. He's regressed. And Kai said it right there. Regardless, there are more issues than just the quarterback.
Right.
There are issues.
Now, I would also argue that the quarterback could be part of that. But he's right though. Like they're not a quarterback away.
Yeah, they're definitely not a quarterback away. But I digress. I don't think Tua is part of the problem. And Colin Cowherd did say late night that he's not the solution, although I would argue he can be part of the solution. Kid's only played 11 games.
Yeah.
11 games. He's still learning. And I just think that 11 games is an unfair shot for a quarterback who's been marred by injuries, who's had play calling that doesn't benefit him, who's had wide receivers that are made of glass that can't suit up on game days, who's had an offensive line that has, at times, tried to murder him.
By the way, I love this. Maybe the secret is a third Coco. They kind of already tried. I think they might need a fourth, because can't you say that Charlie Fry was the third? That's why I say 2.5 coordinators is the way that I refer to the Dolphins OC situation. But so maybe we need to officially elevate a third, or maybe just have every offensive coach can flip a coin and call a play. Like they can have every offensive assistant. They do like a rock, paper, scissors tournament before every play, and then they can call a play.
And look, the thing about Tua is, and I know within Dolphins Twitter and within Dolphins media, there was this 3-letter word journalism agency that said that there are a couple of players in the locker room that don't think Tua Tagovailoa has a good personality and that he can't lead people. And Liam Eichenberg just answered this question in his press conference, saying that he demands respect. Tua demands respect in the locker room and within the huddle. He has good energy every week, and he is a good leader. So with all these, inconsistencies and the flow being disrupted from last season to this season, along with the trade rumors, it has marred the locker room a little bit too. And it's going to affect game days. It is going to affect game days. And I do think that everything that has been going around that outside noise is affecting the Dolphins' on-field play.
This is really good stuff here. Hussam Patel joins us here on Donno Daily on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. So the Dolphins have the Falcons at home this Sunday. They're 2.5-point underdogs. Falcons are not very good, but I wouldn't favor the Dolphins right now against just about anybody, given coming off a loss to the Jaguars last week. And we're going to assume Tua Tagovailoa is going to be under center because he is back on the depth chart. That was one thing I forgot to mention earlier, depth chart gate yesterday, where I don't know if it was like a matter of minutes or hours, but people were pointing out that there was a certain period of time yesterday right around the Watson reports coming out. I may need to put the tinfoil hat back on.
And here's the thing. I'm not going to put the conspiracy hat on this time, but you can keep it on. Keep that conspiracy.
Hold on. Let me just put it on for real. Keep talking.
Yeah. So here's the thing, and I found this out too, is that Tua wasn't on the depth chart since Saturday because he was on injured reserve. He was on IR, and they just updated it. So you can call it pure coincidence, right, Alex?
I call it pure globalist is what I call it. I don't believe in coincidences, bro.
Do you believe that frogs are gay? Do you believe that the pH water is turning frogs gay?
But and I wanted to ask you though, Tua's still the starting quarterback this weekend, I would imagine. Dolphins, Falcons, what do you think happens? I mean, Falcons are going to be the more rested team because they went to London 2 weeks ago and they had their bye week afterwards. Dolphins didn't.
I don't have faith with everything that's going on and with whatever happened with the Jaguars that the Dolphins win against the Falcons at home. I don't think they can. I understand they're underdogs. What was it, 1.5 to 2.5 point?
I think
underdogs?
It's 2.5 now. It was a few. I think a few hours ago it was 1.5, but then when I checked while Barry was on it, it's 2.5 now.
I don't see the Dolphins winning unless this coaching staff, the leaders, the captains, rally together and get their shit together and say, we need to win a effing game to get back on track where they need to be.
I love it. That's a great bow to put on this conversation. What are you working on this week, man? I mean, you're working overtime, 5reasonsports.com and finmaniacs.com. What can people find from you this week?
And Dolphins ATB, I'm the head contributor there too. So
What the hell is that? I don't even know about this. What is that?
it's well, go ahead, check out around the block network .com. We have NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, boxing, rugby, whatever the hell you can think of, even music.
Okay.
So we have a team there at Dolphins ATB writing the Dolphins stuff as well. Go ahead, check it out. I have a couple articles there. My team has a couple articles there as well. We'll have a Falcons preview pod there as well. Hopefully Saturday morning we'll have a scouting combine show with the Fin Maniacs talking about the upcoming college football games, last week's review, and we're talking about hashtag Husam's Hot Shots, the people you should be looking for the NFL draft and who could potentially be Miami Dolphins.
Can you try to get Chris Greer to read your content? Because I've seen a lot of people over the last couple of days saying, "Oh my, you can't give up 3 first-round picks." I'm like, listen, with the way Greer has drafted, if I'm Chris Greer, I say, "Are you sure you don't want 4 first-round picks? Like, are you sure you only want 3? Here, take more of my first-round picks. Don't ever let me use a first-round pick again."
Well, it's about quality, not quantity. And what I'll say is that, I just released, just a snippet of my mock draft using the Horizon Draft mock draft simulator. And I had them picking a couple offensive linemen, a running back, and a wide receiver to fill up those depth positions and give a nice core group, whoever is the quarterback, whether it be Tua, Jacoby, maybe Drew Lock, Deshaun Watson, Reed Sinnett, whatever it is, to give a nice group of solid, stable guys on that offense that you can use and you can count on.
Great stuff. Make sure you guys are following Husam at Husam Patel on Twitter. Check out his work. Thank you so much, man. I always appreciate you taking some time, and we always have fun. And for anybody who's like just hopping on the stream now, like, why is this idiot wearing a Nintendo t-shirt and a tinfoil hat? We get a little bit weird on the show, and Husam is responsible for the whole tinfoil hat bit. So I thank you for that as well.
Of course.
Good stuff, man. I'll talk to you
Thanks
later.
for having me, Alex.
Our pleasure. Always good stuff when Husam joins. Man, we're going to wrap it up on that note. Huge thank you. And Sean Stanley, real quick, give me your take. Do you think it's going to happen before November 2nd? Do you think Deshaun Watson and all of his baggage and also his top 5 quarterbacking abilities will be a Miami Dolphin before the deadline?
No.
Okay. Wow. The man has spoken. And yes, Big Dan 305 is 1,000,000% correct. Hit that like button. I really appreciate it, fam. Hit the like button and make sure you are subscribing to 5 Reasons Sports YouTube. Chances are you are already, but in case you're not, hit the subscribe button to 5 Reasons Sports and hit that like button. And I'm not even done for the day, guys. We're going to be talking combat sports in a couple of hours, okay? I'm going to be hosting tonight 5 rounds. We're going to be talking about Conor McGregor punching Italian DJs in the face and trying to get away with it. We'll do some fight picks as well. Me, James Walker, Frank Zaffrey are coming your way at 6 o'clock right here on 5 Reasons YouTube. And we're going to be giving away tonight a quarterdeck gift card, a $20 gift card to the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill is going to go to a lucky winner tonight at sometime between 6 and 7:30 p.m. So make sure you tune in for that. And please check out the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. Make sure you check out betus.com, our official sports book. Use our code 5RSN125 when you sign up at BetUS. They're going to give you a 125% sign-up bonus. Free play money. Just rain. They're going to make it rain free play money when you sign up with our code 5RSN125. It is a full-service sports book. It's like walking into a sports book in Vegas. Instead of flying to Vegas, you've got it on your smartphone, you've got it on your computer, you've got it on your tablet, and you can wager on anything you can possibly imagine. And great odds, fair odds on everything. So I love it. And thank you. Joseph Rodriguez says, I'm ready for tonight's show. Man, I feel like I got to skip the shout outs today because there's so many people. I'm overwhelmed by the amount of people who are in the chat. I'll do a few of them. Marco at MB Beggs, David, Blue Jones, John Doe. There's literally somebody named John Doe in the chat. Probably not your real name, but if it is, your parents are awesome for naming you John when your last name is Doe. Adolfo Foliaco, thank you so much for tuning in. Let's see. Brooklyn Rob, Rafa Miami, who recommended the tomato diet to me to stay healthy. I appreciate you. Aiden, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us. Lewis M, thank you so much. Bang Mateo, thank you so much for coming in and watching us. Andres Negron, thank you. And I know I missed a bunch of people. I apologize. We try to throw as many shout outs as we can. Joseph Rodriguez, of course. Huge thanks to Sean Stanley and Manny Chang behind the scenes. Enjoy the Heat game tonight. That's a South Florida franchise, them and the Panthers. Sorry to jinx anybody. Heat and the Panthers are going to deliver this season. Panthers are already delivering. Heat will start delivering tonight. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. We'll wrap up the week, 3 p.m. right here on Donno Daily on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Ciao.